Now, this is Baruch Fleischman. I'm here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and I think that we're over here on part 12, Nature, True Beauty, that we're coming to a place here that something that I could really use, practically speaking and doing. You could do it too. So he writes like this: we find in many of the writings of the Rishonim that the righteous of Israel used to practice meditation, attaching themselves to Hashem. This is the idea, is to find a way to be dovek. They would distance from themselves their worldly concerns and connect their thoughts with the Almighty, since this benefits the soul sevenfold from regular learning. Now let's just this last part. He says that if you are able to connect to Hashem, they would distance themselves from their worldly concerns and connect their thoughts with the Almighty. That's the idea. Since this benefits the soul sevenfold from regular learning. If you want your soul to grow, this is the way to do it. That's what he's saying here. All these rabbis have been talking about this. Now let's leave a little bit more. There's a few grammatical errors here and typos. So it says the main method of meditation, according to Rabbi Avraham, who is the son of the Rambam, 1186 to 1237. So the Rambam, as we all know, is a great codifier of Jewish laws, a tremendous physician, writes in his work the Sefer HaMaspik L'Ovdei Hashem. So this is the work he means to say that this is methods that you could use if you really want to be a servant of Hashem. These are methods. So this involves, part of his method involves the contemplation of nature. So we're in a beautiful place. We live in South Florida. That's where I live. But in the United States in general, there are many, many beautiful places. A person can contemplate the greatness of the sea. He can marvel at the many creatures that live in it. One can gaze at a clear night sky, allowing his mind to be completely absorbed by the glory of the stars. Through such intense contemplation, one can attain a meditative state directed towards the divine. This means that through contemplating something which is beautiful, which is going to say, there is a pathway here to eternity. Is that right? This is the transcendence of the egoic mind and the possibility of living in an entirely new state of consciousness. The interesting thing is that often people do experience this sensation many times without knowing what it is and realizing its importance. Present consciousness. So this is a word that he's coined here, because we are constantly involved in the future, constantly involved in the past, and our mind is going around and around and around. But if we could come to the present, it's mostly blank. Present consciousness is also needed to become aware of true beauty, the majesty and the sacredness of nature. Have you ever been awestruck by the absolute stillness and inconceivable vastness of space and the universe? Have you felt the sensation of serenity and peace of the forest? To become aware of such things. In other words, he's trying to get us into the idea that there's something out there besides our thoughts. To become aware of such things, to become aware of it, the mind needs to be still. You have to put down, for a moment, your personal baggage, the personal baggage of problems, as well as your knowledge of other things, all different kinds of ideas going through, that they stop. Otherwise, you will see, but not see, hear, but not hear. Your innate filters will blind you of its ultimate awesomeness. Beyond the beauty of the external forms, there is more here. So, in other words, we look at nature, but there's something deeper, something that cannot be named, something ineffable, something eternal, something deep, inner, holy essence. Whenever and wherever there is beauty, this inner essence shines through somehow. It only reveals itself to you when you are all there. In other words, being present. If you're distracted by the problem you have with your account, your bank account, or the problem you have with your health, or whatever that may be, needs to be interrupted in order to clear the mind. Could it be that this nameless essence and your soul presence are one and the same? Do we not declare twice a day the Shema? With the Shema, it's the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And Rabbi Mimran translates, listen, Israel, and know that God is one. Meaning to say that there is a oneness that can be connected through elements of nature, which he's going to give us a solid example. He says, listen, Yisrael, and that God is one, that nature is one. All of it is oneness. Now he goes on and says like this. The Zohar expounds on this by adding that. Kodesh Baruch Hu in his Torah, v'Yisrael Chadhu, and the Jewish people are all oneness. God, the Torah, and Klal Yisrael are all one. Even though it appears to be that everything is not one. So he says the underlying God current running through everyone and everything that ultimately makes for a united oneness, because there is a current with all. That's what his language is. There's a God current. There's a current of immortality. This is the esoteric understanding of the implicit rule that we are all responsible for each other. The Hebrew term is arevim zeh lezeh. We are all bound together. So bound together means we're really one. Question is what is the part of the oneness? How can we find the oneness? So he says something to ponder. This is something to think about, how it is that all reality is really only one, but we don't see it that way. So now he gives us a method. This is the first time, I think, that I actually saw, other than where he gave us methods for clearing our minds by looking at our thoughts. But he says contemplation itself, of course, will greatly enhance this awareness. So if you look at something beautiful, this will help you. But a beginner may find it difficult to maintain concentration. So let's say we want to really find the godliness in the flower. So here he's going to come and he's going to give us a technique. However, the contemplation can be combined with an exercise in which one repeats the word beauty over and over while looking at the flower. So imagine yourself looking at something beautiful and repeating the word beauty over and over and over again. Now there could be other words, but to describe the ultimate beauty of it. And this is what he says is the secret. This serves to amplify one's sensitivity and sense of beauty, so that the flower will actually appear to radiate beauty. Say it over and over again in a meditative style, and you will start to see this beauty. The result can be an extremely powerful aesthetic experience. If one then realizes that the source of beauty is the divine in the flower, then this beauty can also become a link to the divine. So in that line, he wants to tell us that the divine is beautiful. We don't necessarily live in a world that has beauty everywhere in it, but there is beauty in this world. Then this can also become a link to the divine. The blurb at the bottom says, present consciousness is also needed to become aware of the true beauty. Now this is what he has been teaching us up to this time. He's trying to teach us it's not a permanent state. All Kabbalists know that these states are in and out, in and out, in and out, but you can get a further and further and deeper attachment to it. So he says present consciousness is also needed to become aware of the true beauty, the majesty, and the sacredness of nature. And then I would say also that sacredness is of the divine that is within all beings and of nature too. This is Baruch Fleischman for the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. also on the Vegas channel of Rabbi Mimran.